To all the women of our country, in all your struggles and pain, in your successes and failures, in your families and workplaces, married or divorced, single or dating, with or without children. In whatever situation you find yourself, a happy Women's Day to you all today. This is Father Tulani Skosana. Today, the 9th of August 2020, is the 19th Sunday of Ordinary Time. Our first reading is from the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 9 and verses 11 to 13. Our responsorial psalm is Psalm 85. Our second reading is from the letter to the Romans, chapter 9, verses 1 to 5, and our gospel is Matthew 14, verses 22 to 33. My reflection on the readings of today led me to two themes. The first theme is this: when it comes to human beings, do your best and leave the rest to the Lord. Do your best and leave the rest to the Lord. The second theme is this: use your power to build, not to destroy. Let us begin with the first theme. Imagine you are this powerful priest or pastor with a big congregation, touching lives and leading many people to Christ. And yet your own family does not care about God, no matter how hard you try to help them see the light. Imagine you are this renowned and successful grade 12 teacher, the best in your school, always obtaining 100% pass rate, but your own children don't want anything to do with school, no matter how hard you try to convince them. They choose to live their lives under the cloud of nyaup and alcohol, being irresponsible and always putting you in trouble. Imagine you are this powerful marriage counselor, someone who builds marriages and help couples to revive their love for each other, and yet your own marriage is in a mess, and all the advices you give to couples do not seem to work for you. Imagine you are this married man or woman who is loved and respected everywhere, said to be someone who is fun to have around, and yet your own partner sees you as a devil. And no matter what you do, however hard you work or try, they just don't see it. They lack appreciation for you. Or perhaps you are this child who is loved by people on the streets, well spoken of as a child who is respectful and well behaved, and yet you are always at loggerheads with your own parents, no matter how hard you try. We will all agree that it is very frustrating to be in such situations. It is very painful to work harder and harder without yielding any result. It is even more painful when the good things you do benefit everybody else except the people you love and care for the most. This is the frustration that Paul was facing in the second reading of today, the letter to the Romans. Paul was a powerful and successful preacher. The majority of the letters we find in the New Testament were written by him. The letters to the Corinthians, Ephesians, Philippians, Thessalonians, Colossians were, among others, the letters written to the churches in which Paul was personally involved in evangelizing. But all these people that Paul evangelized were outsiders. They were pagans. They were not part of the people of Israel. They were not the chosen people of God. Jesus was meant first and foremost for the people of Israel. He was a Jew, born of a Jewish woman. Jesus was their Messiah as the Jews and the people of Israel. But these same people, the same family of Jesus, the tribe of Jesus, the nation of Jesus, rejected Jesus. They crucified him and refused to accept him as the Messiah. Paul tried to convince them that Jesus was the Messiah, but he could not succeed. So with a broken heart, Paul left them. He left his own people and took the gospel to the outsiders, to the pagans who knew nothing about God. But these very pagans accepted the message of Christ with joy and experienced wonders and miracles, whereas the chosen people of God, the Jews, remained in the dark. This deeply pained and frustrated Paul. That is why in the second reading today he says, I have great sorrow and unending anguish in my heart. How I wish that I myself were accursed and cut off from Christ for the sake of my own brothers and sisters. He was of course happy that his preaching was successful, but he was in deep sorrow for the fact that his own people, his own family, his own nation did not benefit from the fruit of his labor. No matter how hard he tried, the people of Israel refused to accept the Lord Jesus. There was nothing that Paul could do. Brothers and sisters, as a human being, you have no power over the will of another person, no matter what you can do. Many times I've listened to parents expressing their deep sorrow and disappointment because of their children. They will tell me how they raised their children in church, how they took them to best schools, and how they taught them morals. And the same children became the opposite of what they expected. And parents tend to think that it is their fault and that perhaps they did not do enough to help their children. I wish you to know today, it is not your fault. The truth is, you have no power over the will of another person. You have no absolute power over the will of your children. If a person chooses to close their hearts, there is nothing you can do. No amount of preaching, no degree of shouting, no program or workshop, no school or teaching can change a person who chooses to close their hearts and say no to the truth. Even God himself respects human will and does not violate it. He has power over human will, of course, but he never violates it. That is why in Revelation chapter 3 verse 20, God says, I am standing at the door knocking. If you open, I will enter and dine with you. This means that if you choose to say no to God, he will not enter your heart by force. A human being has power to say no even to God himself. Matthew 13 verse 38 tells us that Jesus could not perform miracles in Nazareth because people there did not have faith. They chose to close their hearts and minds and to say no to Jesus. If Jesus himself could not perform miracles because people chose to block him, then who are we? So if a person closes their hearts and choose to say no, no matter how many prayers we can say for them, nothing will change. Even if we can call all the priests, living and dead, all the pastors of the world, bishops and even popes, even if we can fast for 40 days and 40 nights and thereafter lay our hands on them and pray even in tongues, nothing will happen. We have no power over another person's will if they choose to say no. So it is not your fault that your best is not good enough for your loved ones. It's not your best that you seem to fail, no matter how much you try. If you are successful with everything on earth, but you fail to impact those that you love, it is not your fault. As long as they choose to close their hearts and to say no to you, there is nothing you can do. That is why when it comes to human beings, just do your best and leave the rest to the Lord. Do your best, the rest leave to the Lord. Let us now move to our second theme, which is use your power to build, not to destroy. The first reading presents a beautiful story of Prophet Elijah waiting for the Lord at Mount Horeb. As he was waiting there, God passed by him 3 times. The first time he passed, God was followed by a great and strong wind that tore mountains open and shattered rocks. But God was not in that destructive wind. The second time he passed, a great earthquake came, causing the world to tremble, but God was not in that earthquake. Then came a powerful fire, but God was not in the fire. Instead, God came to Elijah in a form of a peaceful and gentle sound. When the destructive wind, the great earthquake and fire came, Elijah remained unmoved because he knew our God very well. Only when he heard a peaceful and gentle sound did Elijah come out and get ready to meet God. From this narrative, we learn that our God is a God of peace, not the God of havoc and destruction. This narrative teaches us that God has the capacity to shatter rocks and break mountains open. He has the capacity to make the whole world tremble and to destroy anything with fire. But he is not the God of havoc and destruction. He is the God of peace and gentleness. He has power over everything. In the gospel of today, we hear about Jesus going to the apostles, walking on water without drowning. The boat of the apostles was being tossed left, right, and center by heavy wind. But when Jesus entered the boat, the wind stopped immediately, and there was peace and calm. Wherever God is, there is peace. For our God is a God of peace, not a God of havoc and destruction. Jesus had power to walk on water, power to calm even strong winds, but he never used this power to destroy anyone. Instead, he used it to heal and to bring peace. When the apostles were afraid, thinking that Jesus was a ghost, he said to them, "Do not be afraid. It is I." In other words, he was saying to them, I am not the God of who exerts fear. I am not the God before whom you must tremble in anxiety and fear. Instead, I am a God of peace. I use my power to build, not to destroy. My dear brothers and sisters, God is almighty. He can do anything. He can break open mountains and shake the depth of the oceans. He can consume the entire universe with fire and put all planets upside down. But our God is a God of peace, not the God of havoc and destruction. He is the God of justice, the God of mercy, the God of love. He has the power to destroy, but he chooses to use his power to build, to heal, and to comfort. Learn from this God. Let us learn from our Father. Whatever power you have, use it to build, not to destroy. To us, men and fathers, God blessed us with the gift of physical strength. We can carry heavy loads and break strong walls. Let us not use this gift to disfigure our vulnerable women and children. Let us use this to protect them and help them feel safe and protected. Let us imitate our Father in heaven, who has the power to destroy, but who is not the God of havoc and destruction, but of peace and comfort. Dear parents, you have power over your children, the power of authority, the financial power, the power of property and ownership. Please do not use these powers to suppress and emotionally abuse your children. Use this to raise your children with dignity and love. Imitate our God and Father. Those in positions of power, people like teachers, elders, and those in managerial positions, do not use your power to gain advantage over others. The power you have comes from God. Do not use your power at work to put your subordinates down and to climb the ladder at their expense. The power you have was given to you by God in trust. Use it according to His will. Use it to build, protect, and heal. To us priests and pastors, God has given us great power over His people, the sheep of the Lord. No priest, pastor, or bishop must misuse this power. We must not use this power for self-gain, siphoning monies out of people's pockets in the name of God, using our positions of service to enrich ourselves. Those as well who are leaders in governments, you have great power from God as well. Use it to build and serve, not to destroy or use it for selfish reasons. Use it to build and for the good of others. Whatever power you have, use it to build, not to destroy. Our Father in heaven, almighty as He is, all-powerful as He is, He never uses His power to destroy, but to build. Use your power to build, not to destroy.